Great Zimbabwe. Great Zimbabwe. Focus question. What is the significance of Great Zimbabwe's design and what is the purpose of its structures? A giant place. The ruins of the once magnificent city of Great Zimbabwe lie in an area with rolling hills and many huge piles of boulders. Massive stone walls dot the landscape. In some places, the walls stand as high as 11 meters, 36 feet tall. The ruins cover an area measuring 328.4 hectares, 1,800 acres, almost as large as 1,400 American football fields. The ruins of Great Zimbabwe give us a glimpse into what life was like there from the 11th to 15th centuries. The abandoned city also contains many unsolved mysteries. The pride of a nation. These mysterious cities' ruins are located in the southeastern part of Zimbabwe. A nation is Southern Africa. Its neighbors include Mozambique, South Africa, Zambia, and Botswana. Nearby landmarks include Lake Mutirikwi and the town of Masvingo. In the late 1800s, the country we now know as Zimbabwe was a British-controlled colony called Southern Rhodesia. When Zimbabwe gained its independence from Britain in 1980, the people needed a new name for their new country. Since the city of Great Zimbabwe had long been a source of national pride, they chose to name their country after a famous ancient city. Stone City. Three main sections span the ruins of Great Zimbabwe: a hill complex, the Great Enclosure, and the Valley Ruins. Approximately 100 meters, 328 feet long, as 45 meters, 178 feet wide. The hill complex sits high on a steep hillside in the northern edge of the site with a beautiful view of the rest of the city and the surrounding valley. 6 upright posts topped with sculptures of birds have led experts to think that the hill complex may have functioned as the city's spiritual center or the home of the kings of Great Zimbabwe. The Great Enclosure is located in the southern area of the site. Built in the 1300s during the height of the city's success, it is the largest ancient African structure south of the Sahara Desert. The Great Enclosure is an oval that measures 250 meters, 820 feet around the outside. The builders used approximately 1 million stones to build it. Just inside the Great Enclosure's outer wall is an inner wall that forms a narrow passage to a cone-shaped tower. Archaeologists do not know what the purpose of the tower was or even why the Great Enclosure was built, but it's possible that it was a royal palace. The valley ruins lie between the hill complex and the Great Enclosure. They are composed of a large number of smaller houses that are made of a mixture of clay and gravel called daga. A booming empire. By the 14th century, Great Zimbabwe was a city at the heart of a powerful empire. More than 10,000 people may have lived there. Some researchers estimate that the population was as high as 20,000. The empire's wealthy people may have lived in the stone buildings of the hill complex and the Great Enclosure. The peasants likely lived in the daga structure throughout the valley. Great Zimbabweans grew crops and raised cattle. They were also involved in a large trade network. The city was located along a busy trade route that connected other regions of Africa with ports along the Indian Ocean. The people of Great Zimbabwe traded the gold that mined from the surrounding hills for goods from Western Africa, the Middle East, and even China. Although the city was very rich and powerful at one time, by the middle of the 15th century it lay abandoned. Some people think the land around the city was ruined from too much farming. Others think the people may have moved to follow changing trade routes. Scholars still do not know why the great city fell. Building the walls. Most of the walls of Great Zimbabwe are made of brick-shaped stones. The people who built them cut the stones from the huge boulders surrounding the city. To do this, they heated the boulders with fire. Then they poured cooled water on the stones. This process caused the stones to split. The types of granite boulders they used naturally split into straight lines. Therefore, they were excellent for shaping into bricks. The builders stacked with these brick-shaped stones on top of one another to build the walls of Great Zimbabwe. In most modern brick walls, a cement-like substance called mortar holds the bricks together. The people who built Great Zimbabwe did not use mortar. They made the base of each wall a little thicker than its top. This made the towering walls stable. In addition to using brick-shaped stones, the builders also used huge boulders to make some of Great Zimbabwe's walls. Some of the more carefully constructed walls are as smooth as those we make today. Another interesting characteristic of the ancient city's walls is that they form curves rather than straight lines. Researchers aren't sure why the people of Great Zimbabwe built such massive walls. It seems clear that they did not design the walls to support weight. They may have built the walls to help defend the city from enemies, to give the city's ruling class more privacy, or to stand for the king's authority. Who built it? Europeans began to explore the ruins of Great Zimbabwe in the late 19th century. They doubted that local African builders could have built the great city. Wood found at the site from the far north led some Europeans to think that another civilization, such as people living along the Mediterranean Sea, had constructed it. For decades they tried to prove that idea. They ignored items found at the site that suggested local people had built the city. They even damaged or destroyed parts of the site while they searched for the signs of a foreign culture. Finally, in 1905, an archaeologist examined the artifacts found at the site and was able to prove that local Africans built Great Zimbabwe. A few different tribes claim to be the descendants of the people of ancient Great Zimbabwe. However, most people today believe that the Shona people built the ancient city. The Shona had been living in that area for many centuries. Some of the artifacts, such as tools found in the ruins by archaeologists, are very similar to items that the Shona people were using during the 19th century. In addition, many people think that the word Zimbabwe comes from a Shona phrase that means stone houses protecting Great Zimbabwe. The United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organizations (UNESCO) designated the ruins of Great Zimbabwe a World Heritage Site in 1986. This means nearly all the countries in the world recognize the site as worthy of admiration and protection. However, the site has been damaged over time. People from around the world visit the site, adding to the need for repair. People 3 tend to grow over many of the remaining structures. Weather was also taken to toll on the site. More funding and staff were needed to study and preserve the ruins. Great Zimbabwe's oldest walls have stood for roughly 1,000 years. With proper care, they may stand for 1,000 more.